Welcome to Comedy Centric, your place for all things comedy. Every week, we'll discuss the legends and the people who built the business. The performers, writers, behind the scenes, and stories that you have never heard. So relax, take a load off, and join us for this episode of Comedy Centric. Now, the host of your show, nationally headlining comedian, a woman with a wicked sense of humor and a killer Jersey accent, Julia Scotti.
Oh, thank you so much. How do you live up to an introduction like that? I'll tell you how. There's only one person that could be in the second chair with me, and she is the pride of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Lives in a tent whenever she possibly can. Ladies and gentlemen, my buddy, Kathy Caldwell. Yay!
That was such a build-up. Thank you. I don't live in a tent. I've only spent about a couple. But anyway, yeah.
You've called me from Pittsburgh. Huh?
I know.
You've called me from Pittsburgh in the middle of the night saying, guess where I am? And I went, where? And you go, I'm in a tent on a hill. And I said,
and I'm not being held captive.
No, but I worried about bears. I was worried that a bear was going to come in and because those sons of bitches will kill you.
Between black bears and brown bears. Black bears aren't really aggressive, and those are the ones that really are around the Pittsburgh area. And it's the black bears that are like up in Alaska that will kill you. Or the brown bears up in Alaska will kill you. The black bears they just want to eat your sweets and skedaddle off. They don't want to kill you.
Yeah, but if you've got the sweets and you don't want to give them up, that son of a bitch will kill you. I'm just saying. Anyway, let me move on because I got something I really was thinking about today. I was thinking I was going to go to Lourdes. You know where Lourdes is? In France?
What's Lourdes?
Lourdes
in
is where
France?
Yeah, in France. It's where people go where supposedly the Virgin Mary appeared to Bernadette back in the 1900s. And she told Bernadette 3 secrets, which I thought was kind of shitty. Why would you just tell some kid secrets? You can't tell kids. Anyway, but now people go to this grotto in Lourdes. They've been going there for years to get healed. It's got healing waters there. Okay.
What kind of healing? Mental or physical?
Well, that's just it. You can go anything you got. It's like a buffet of miracles. People leave their crutches there and they walk away. Some
really,
dance
it works?
afterwards.
It works?
Oh, I don't know. I guess so. There are documented cases of people there are people who try to walk away without their crutches.
And you want to go there because what is?
Well, I figure it's the Catholic version of the genie. You're going to get one wish come true, right? So
what's your wish? What do you want to wish?
Well, that's just it. I need help to decide. I figure all right. Well, I got enough wrong with me.
Maybe you're actually asking for outside help for your.
Well, when you only get one wish, you want to make sure it's the one you want, right? So
again, do you need outside help for that? Shouldn't you just?
You're my bud. You know me probably better
what
than.
What if I gave you wrong advice? Would it be like, Julia, you should ask for the right hip not to hurt, not the left hip.
But there's 3 things that I really think I'd like to get done.
All right, go for it.
Or the first one is
what?
Well, I don't know if I should ask for a cure from my terrible arthritis, which cripples me.
You should ask for a cure for your ADHD, but go ahead.
Well, okay. Remind me to tell you what I got today.
Speaking of
See? All right. Yeah. Exhibit A.
Well, you brought it up.
All right, go ahead.
Anyway, all right, my second wish.
First wish. No, first wish.
First wish is I want to be out of pain.
Oh, well.
I want to be out of pain. All right,
okay.
Well, the audience, those who know me only from the stage do not realize that I am constantly in agony on stage. That's how much I love these people. Okay? I would never tell you that, but I'm telling you
They'll
now.
probably erect a statue to you somewhere, but go on. Okay, what's your second wish? I'm sorry you're in pain. I'm not dismissing that.
That's all right. Second wish is I'd like to lose about 100 pounds. I'd be happy with that. Which would probably go a long way.
What if you lost 100 pounds first, and maybe you'd be in less pain?
Well, that's a theory. That's only a theory. I'm not gonna. You're probably right. You're
Okay.
probably right.
Well,
And
you
the
can't
third
lose
wish.
100 pounds. It'd be like you. No, not
Oh, trust
100
me.
pounds.
All right. Okay. 80. I could lose 80, and you'd still go. You put on weight.
Mm,
Yeah. Yeah.
no,
All right.
then you'll have all the skin hanging. You gotta.
Eh,
Fat
I
fills
could
out your
always get.
face, just so you know.
I could get that sucked out. I could get.
All right. Third
I
wish.
could get it. Third
Third
wish.
wish.
You know, I knew what it
I'm
was
actually
when we
writing
started.
these down. Like there's actually gonna, these are gonna happen. But go ahead. Third
Well, I
wish.
knew what it was when we started this conversation, but now it's sort of slipped. It's slipped away, as most things do in my head these days. Maybe a better memory would be my third
I was gonna
wish.
say
How's that?
memory loss. Go on.
So anyway,
Well,
how you
but look,
doing?
you know what? I'm impressed because you you didn't ask for anything like, oh, I want to be a millionaire, or I want a
Oh,
fancy car, or I want a house on the beach. You have pretty reasonable expectations.
yeah,
I mean,
you know
being
I
out
don't.
of
I'm not.
pain, losing weight, and memory loss
Yeah, maybe a
are
better
not.
nose.
Oh, you have a good nose.
Yeah,
You have a nice nose.
not as nice as
Good
yours.
nose,
You have a.
Julia.
You know
Oh
what?
no,
I've looked longingly at your nose.
my nose is
There are
crooked.
times but when when you don't know I'm looking, I will steal a glance at your nose. Yeah, I've
You
lusted
notice it's
after that
crooked?
nose.
Can you see
It's
it?
but that's part of its charm.
I
It's
took a
a
softball I was catching, and I took a softball right to the
oh,
nose, and the umpire behind me, I turned around, I could see my cheek swelling immediately, and he goes, "Yeah, that's going to leave a mark." That's what he
were
said.
you
I'm
catching?
pretty sure. Yeah, I was
Were
catching,
you a
and the ball
catcher?
bounced, and I wasn't. I was, but I wasn't a very good. I mean, I didn't play sports growing up. This was like when I was in my 20s, 30s, and so they put the sucky people at catcher and right field, and so I was the catcher, and the ball bounced right in front of me, bam, right in the nose. And boy, I have to find a picture. I had a black eye. People I was walking around for weeks. People like looking at me like I was a battered woman, and some guy actually goes, "I hope you kicked the guy's ass who did that." And I'm like,
But that
oh,
pain, that I've been hit in the
oh,
nose. That pain is like it's like a lightning, like somebody hooked your nose up to an electrical outlet, which I've done by the way, and it feels exactly the same.
I don't believe you. I think you're being silly.
Okay. Okay, so we haven't talked about the show yet tonight. Tonight, I can't even
No.
say tonight because we don't know when people are listening to this, and if it's six
Well,
o'clock in
it's
the
tonight
morning.
for us right now, but
But we don't
just
want them
keeping
to
it.
know when we do this. Today's show. Why
Why are
don't we just
we
call it that? Today's show. We'll
okay?
talk about today's show. So we're comedy centric, which means we talk about all things what?
Centric?
No.
No,
Comedy.
comedy. Oh, sorry.
And that includes, there's comedy and music. There's comedy. So we're going to be, we're not just talking about comics. We're talking about comedic actors or music. So over the next, I'm hoping we're on for the next 20, 30 years. So we got a lot of shows coming up. But tonight's show,
I'm hoping
we're
we're
going to be,
alive for the next 20 or 30 years.
well, there'll be somebody. There'll always be somebody to follow us. This will become an
Heirs.
institution, like the Tonight Show. It'll be some new
Yeah,
host
or
will
the
come along.
Colbert Show, or well, the
Yeah,
Daily
there
Show wasn't.
the Daily Show. So,
Anyway,
so we have Tommy Moore on tonight. Who's well? Why don't you tell the people who Tommy is?
Tommy is a historian of comedy. Probably, I'd be hard pressed to find anybody that knows more about the comedy legends and their stories. And he's really, I think he has a book. It's called Well, I know he's the professor of fun, but he's written 4 books, and maybe he has a
He's got
fifth one.
four, but I think he's got another one coming out too. A fifth book coming
Yeah,
out.
But what a mind, and what a he's like a walking Rolodex of information as it
So
comes to
yeah,
comedians.
and we would be hard pressed to pick one comedian that to talk to him about. So what we did, you and I, we're so clever, aren't we? We're so clever. We picked
Hmm.
three, but they all have what in their name?
Red.
Red. That's right,
The
red.
three reds.
And the first one being
So we got so in terms of chronological order, who's the oldest? Is it Red Skelton?
I would it would be
Because
toss
there's
up
Red
between Red
Skelton.
Skelton. They were all pretty much in the same. I think Red
Okay,
Skelton
so
would
we
be
have
the oldest, though.
Red Skelton, Red Buttons, and Red Fox.
That's right. That's
And
right.
totally different, all three of them. And
But very funny in their own
oh my
way. Yeah.
goodness. This is why I love this show, because just doing the research for it, I mean, obviously you don't know everything. Tommy does, but we don't. And so, you try to learn a little bit about what the subject matter, and just doing the research on those three. Wow. What amazing talents. And Red Skelton was, I think he was my grandfather's favorite comedian. He loved Red Skelton, and he was the clean one, right?
Yeah, he was kind of a clown. He was a comedian for all ages. You could be a 5-year-old kid and still laugh at Red Skelton. Yeah. So.
And then Red Buttons, he was the one who did a lot of roast.
Red Buttons did a lot of the Dean Martin roast, but he was also an
Yeah.
accomplished actor.
Oscar
And
winner,
he was
1958.
Oscar winner, yeah.
See, those two guys were like actors, right?
Who? Red Skelton?
Red Skelton and Red Buttons.
They were
They
both
did a
actors,
lot of
comedians
acting.
first, though. But they were first. But Red Skelton was in a couple of movies, and so was Red Buttons, the Academy Award winner. And the third, and then we gotta go, is Red Fox. And tell us a little bit about him.
I find Red Fox fascinating. Again, I had no idea. One of the amazing things is he was good buds when they grew up and worked together. He was friends with Malcolm X before Malcolm X was Malcolm X. They worked at a place together in their teens called Jimmy's Chicken Shack, and in Chicago, and they started doing petty crimes together, stealing suits and selling them on the streets, and I think selling pot, stuff like that. And so Malcolm X wanted to kind of up the ante and kind of get more into
More militant,
nefarious things, and and just more nefarious things. Like I think he wanted to start doing harder crimes, and Red Fox is like, "Yeah, I'm gonna peel off and go do stand-up comedy and tell dick jokes." And so Malcolm X went to prison for 12 years, and that's where he really developed Malcolm X and learned about civil rights and educated himself and became Malcolm X. And then Red Fox went on to become Red Fox. And then, but years later, I think they hooked up again, and I believe Red Fox was still very much not aligned, but he very much had a soft spot in his
He
heart.
was involved in the civil rights movement a lot. So, but we'll hopefully get all that with Tommy. But we gotta cut out of here for a break. It's our first break of our first show. So we'll be back.
Do we get cake for that?
Go get us some. Why don't we do that now? You go get cake too, and come back to us in whenever we come back. Thank you.
Welcome back, everybody. Julia, what's wrong? What's wrong with you?
Oh, I was hoping we'd have Tommy Moore. We could see him, Tommy Moore, but we can't hook up with him. I think this. What happened, folks? The satellite that we were going to get Tommy on suddenly dropped out of orbit. We don't know how it happened.
I blame the Russians.
I think it was the Russians.
Can we
Right now,
blame
if
the
you look over
Russians?
the western sky, you
And
can see a fireball. Wasn't it?
Tesla. You should blame Tesla too. But no,
Tesla.
Tommy Moore. So welcome back, everybody, and thank you for being part of Comedy Centric. It is our first show, and so far we're off to a roaring start. And we've only had a little technical difficulty 9 times, and so we're in good shape. But
So we're
no,
changing the name of the show to Cluster F.
yes,
Go
which
ahead.
is not going to get past the FCC at all, but we're going to give it a shot. So, but no. So Jim Corhan, our fearless leader at this whole thing, he has been working diligently with Tommy to try to get him on, and we've not been able to get his. So anyway, Tommy Moore, tell me more.
See, here's the
Tommy
problem.
Moore.
Here's the problem. I am currently in North Carolina. Okay.
Oh my
Our
God, that is
mode
a
of communication.
problem.
Yeah, our mode of communication here is carrier pigeon. Sometimes the pigeons are slow. That's the whole problem. You know, I was trying to get a Dixie cup and a string, but they don't carry that in North Carolina. As a matter of fact, North Carolina's motto is, at least we're not South Carolina. Okay?
Well, yeah, but you should be able to get a Dixie cup. After all, you're in Dixie.
You know what?
You would think.
Actually, get out of my head.
Oh, you
All
heard.
right, Tom.
You would
Welcome
think.
to the show, Ed. We're so glad to have you. If anybody's not
Thank you.
familiar with Tommy, my goodness, you've kicked around a lot. You're the professor of fun, correct?
I've been doing this for 49 years. I've been a comic
That's
for
longer than
49
Julia.
years. Yeah, yeah.
He started out as an associate professor, actually an adjunct professor, and then went up to associate
At a
professor. Now
community college.
No, the whole reason the professor thing even happened was because I'm a Philly guy, and Temple University in
Ah.
Philadelphia called me and asked me if I could do a course in comedy. So for 5 years, I taught at Temple University the history of American humor, how to do stand-up comedy, comedy writing, and so I became the professor of fun.
Well, I've always had fun with you, so you lived up to your name. So let's get right down to it. We were talking when I spoke to you. You know, I wanted to sort of bring up the fact that you brought it up, really, that that comedians have changed because they always tend to reflect their culture, and you had 3 examples that you're gonna focus on with this.
Yeah, you asked me to talk about the people whose shoulders we stood on, the old giants. And the thing is, the old comedians were entertainers. A lot of the new young comedians today are commentators. That's a whole different art. But the old comedians were entertainers. They were only interested in making people laugh. They didn't care about insights, observations, values, relevance, nothing. Just make people laugh. So I said, 3 of the best people to use are the Reds. Red Skelton, Red Fox, and Red Buttons. And, I wrote 3 books. I'm on my 4th book now about comedians because, in 49 years of doing this, I've either worked with, worked for, worked around every comedian there is. I had my own comedy club for years. I booked a million comedy shows. And somebody said, you better write down all your memories before you forget them because I'm old. And forgetfulness happens. I'm old. What can I tell you? I pee Morse code, okay? It's like dash, dot, 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 dash, dot. I think it's help. I think I'm saying help, okay? And I said, let me write these books before I forget because forgetfulness happens. Last week I forgot the Alamo, okay? There were 3 stages of forgetfulness. First you forget faces, then you forget to unzip, then you forget to zip up. So before I get to that point, I said, let me write these books. And so we're talking about the Reds. There's Red Skelton, Red Fox.
So, yeah, right. The
and
3
Red
Reds,
Buttons.
right, Tommy? Yeah. Red
Yeah,
Skelton,
yeah.
Red Fox, and red buttons.
Let's start with Red Skelton because I think his
Okay.
career probably
Red
goes
Skelton
back
always
the furthest.
introduced himself as one of America's clowns. And he really was a clown. The interesting thing is his father, who died when he was very, very young, was a clown with the Hagenbeck and Wallace Circus. And Red's mother said, I knew it would come out in one of my kids, and it came out in Red. And Red just got the showbiz bug, and he was a clown. I mean, he started out for a little bit in burlesque and then vaudeville. He emceed dance marathons. He was on showboats. And he wound up having one of the top 10 shows for years. And the reason he was mostly a clown is because he would open the show with jokes as a stand-up, and he would close the show with pantomimes. But in the middle, he did clownish characters. He had Freddie the Freeloader and Sheriff Deadeye and Cauliflower McPug and George Appleby. And the funny thing is he did a very clean show and a very clean act. So
That's
it
what
was
I.
the kind
That's
of
what I
TV
thought,
show.
Tommy. When I was watching his clips, he was so clean, and I couldn't believe how he was able to continue that. Everything was very, very clean.
Well, he tried to gear his show to an audience that grandmothers and grandchildren could watch. However, the rehearsals were very different. Everybody in the building would come down to see the rehearsals because they called it the Red Skelton Dirty Hour. Because Red would throw in every nasty ad-lib he could think of, and it was hilarious, and it would drive the director crazy. But then when it came time for TV, he was church clean. And
You could see that too. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just want to say, I used to watch it. I think it was Tuesday nights on CBS that he was on it. That's when I watched it, and I loved watching him. And you're right. You could see that little bit of a naughty look in his eye when he'd get it, and he never actually said the dirty joke, but it was you could read between the lines.
Oh yeah. And a couple of interesting things about. Like I said, he started on the vaudeville. He told me this story when I interviewed him. Great story. You got to be a comedian to really appreciate the angst involved in this story. It was like one of his first weeks ever in vaudeville, and he honestly wasn't that good. He knew he wasn't that good, but he was trying out. And he went on stage, afternoon show, and the manager said, "I hear you do pantomime. I suggest you do a lot of pantomime and not so many jokes." Okay. He went out, he did some jokes, no response. He went right into the pantomime, a little bit of laughter. His act was over, no applause. He came off. The manager said, "Get back out there and take a bow." He said, "But wait, I didn't get back out there." He went out, took a bow, no applause. He comes back in, manager says, "Get out there again, take a bow." He said, "They're not applause." Get back out there. He goes back out, no applause. Third time he comes in, the manager says, "Get back out there." He said, "Look, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to tell me I'm no good. You're trying to embarrass me. You don't have to pay me. Just don't embarrass me." He said, "Get back out there. I'm going to turn the house lights on. Look at what's happening." He went back out, turned the lights on. The entire audience was Asian, and they were standing up, and they were bowing. They were giving him the highest compliment he could have gotten. So he told me, never worry about what happens. Just do your act, do your best, and you never know, it may turn out to be great.
We've all had a show like that where we thought we quite frankly sucked, because we weren't getting the response that we're used to. And then you come off, and after the show, people are coming up to you and telling you the greatest thing since, French toast. So you're right.
Absolutely.
You never do. You give you 100% always.
Absolutely.
Were you ever in the bathroom when other people were talking, about the act? Hey.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but that was a Milton Berle story, and I'll tell that some other day. But first, we got to clear it with the censors, okay?
All right. So we have Red Skelton, pretty clean guy.
And
He did
another
a
thing
lot of
about Red Skelton,
college shows.
and the one thing I want to tell any of you viewers, especially if they're young comics and they're new and they don't know who Red Skelton is or Red Fox or Red Buttons, you got the greatest tool in the world. You got YouTube. Go on YouTube. Yeah. There are some Red Skelton concerts. There are Funny Faces concerts. You can see him do an hour all by himself. And the interesting thing is he worked into his 80s. And everybody thought he had baggy pants because he was a baggy pants comic. No, he had baggy pants because for the last 20 years, he wore leg braces. But it didn't stop him. He stood on stage for 2 hours plus.
Explain, Tommy, explain the term baggy pants comics, because a lot of people don't know what they are.
Okay, in burlesque, you tried to look as funny as you could. So you wore a clownish kind of costume with baggy pants, maybe a big tie, maybe a goofy hat. And that made you look funny as well as sound funny. And every trick in the book, one of the tricks is look funny. Woody Allen once said that was the brilliance of the Marx Brothers. They looked funny, they sounded funny, they walked funny, they talked funny, and that was before they even got to a punchline.
But then you have a comic like Red Fox.
Right.
Okay. Now, actually, Red Fox started that way.
Is that right?
Red Fox started that way. Red Fox was half of the comedy team with Slappy White, and he would wear a loud checkered suit and a hat with a turned-up brim, and he worked what he told me was called the TOBA circuit. TOBA meant Theater Owners and Bookers Association. However, he told me what it really meant was tough on black asses, because it was all the black theaters in the South and in the North, and they didn't get paid much, and they were stranded on the road a lot. But when you love show business, you do it.
I just like comedy today. Nothing's changed. Nothing's changed.
Right. I asked Red Fox once, what's the best advice he could give to a comedian? He said, always work a place that has food, at least you'll eat, because it's very hard to be funny when you're hungry.
That's for comic. That was always the thing. If somebody included food, we were there. You know.
No,
that's right.
We know Red Fox for Sanford and Son. I mean, that was probably his biggest.
Everybody knows Red Fox is Sanford, but most of the people in the 60s knew Red Fox as the king of the party albums. Let me explain what party albums are in case you don't know. Party albums are called party albums for two reasons. Number one, people would buy them before there was the internet and even before there was much comedy on TV, and they would play these comedy records at their parties. The other reason they were called party albums is because most of them were not recorded in a theater or in a nightclub. They were recorded at a private party with 50 people sitting in a room laughing. And the party albums were usually X-rated, but X-rated for then was like R-rated now. It was like clean dirty. It was naughty. And Red Fox was the king of those because he did over 40 party albums, and I have them all. But the thing is, they weren't dirty. Here's an example of what was dirty then. He would come out in his opening, he would say, my name is Red Fox. He said, in Russian, that's Zora Rojo. In French, that's Renault Rouge. In Chinese, that's Chai Chetsumi. And in Russian, it's Ursovich Yusunovich. Now, that was considered dirty back then, okay? And people would laugh, ooh, he said something almost dirty. They couldn't even sell those records in the counters. They would sell them under the counter. You had to go into a record store, know what you wanted to buy, and say, excuse me, do you have any Red Fox albums? Mm-hmm. And the guy would say, okay, I'll sell you one, but don't tell him you bought it here.
It's like,
and there were several women that had those too. The women party albums too.
Oh, sure, Rusty Warren and Belle Barth and Pearl Williams.
Right.
Absolutely, and the same thing happened there. But as society changed, the last few albums he made were legitimate X-rated albums. I mean, double X, triple X, with all the words. But he was funny. And that's the difference between him and a lot of the comedians today who just use the expletives to accent their passion. He used them in a funny way. And, interestingly, the way he got on TV, of all people, Hugh Downs from the Today Show saw him and said, "You're terrific. I'd love to put you on the Today Show, but can you be funny clean?" And he said, "Yeah, all I got to do is do every 30-second joke from my act. So I'll do every 30-second joke, and maybe the 33rd once in a while, but I can be clean." And they put him on, and he was clean, and he caught on, and everybody in the country wanted him. Now, he would work all these nightclubs where the people maybe didn't know him, and he would be clean, and he would do great. But then he walked into New York City, and New Yorkers are hip. They all had his albums. They all wanted Dirty. They expected Dirty. And when he came on and he was clean, he wasn't doing really well. And Steve Lawrence of Steve Lawrence and Eddie Gourmet was in the audience, and he yelled out, "Red, do what you do." And so Red then started doing Dirty, and he tore the roof off the place.
Wow.
And they loved it. But just to go show the other end of the story, he was working in Las Vegas the first time, okay? And he said the big dirty word right in the front of his act. And the nightclub manager came up to him and said, "I don't want you to say that in front of your act." So he didn't. He said it in the middle of his act. And the manager got mad, and he brought him to the head of the casino. And there was going to be this really important meeting. And the head of the casino said to the entertainment manager, "What's the problem?" He said, "Well, Mr. Fox is using language that I don't approve of in my nightclub." And the head of the casino said, "Well, let me ask you two questions. First of all, did the people laugh?" "Yes." "Second, did anybody walk out and ask for their money back?" "No." He said, "In that case, Mr. Fox, we're sorry for the inconvenience. Enjoy your stay. Have a great show. Thank you."
And what year was
That's
that?
show business. Probably early to mid-70s.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, really? That late? Wow, that's a surprise.
Yeah.
So,
And the one thing,
Tommy,
the one thing,
go ahead.
yeah. No, go ahead. What do you want to ask?
No, the one thing that I didn't know, and I was doing a little bit of background about Red Fox, was do you know the connection that he had with Malcolm X?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. As a matter of fact, when he opened up his own club, he wanted to put a lot of photographs of Malcolm X and a lot of other civil rights activists up. And then he said, maybe that's not conducive to comedy. So he decided not to do that. But yeah, he was very, very aware of the whole civil rights movement. And he always helped everybody.
There was
a black comic in Philadelphia named Dap Sugar Willie, and he was from Northeast Philly. He really wasn't getting anywhere. Red Fox saw him, and he said, "I'm taking you under my wing," and he brought him everywhere. As a matter of fact, I saw their show once. The show, now this takes a lot of guts for a comedian to do. The show was Slappy White, an old friend, Pat Morita, who was Asian, and later became one of the stars of The Karate Kid. And
Mr. Miyagi.
Alan Drake, who was white. I'm sorry?
Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah, he was Mr. Miyagi. I could tell you a story about him, but we'll be here for hours. He had Alan Drake, who was white, and Dap Sugar Willie, who was black. And somebody once said to him, "Boy, you put everybody in your show, a white guy, an Asian, black guy." He said, "Color doesn't matter because when there's a nuclear war, we're all going to be black." And they said, aren't you worried about, following 4 other comedians? And he said, no, people can never laugh enough. And he was strong enough that he could follow anybody.
That is good, but could he follow Red
all right,
Button?
I'll tell you the quick Pat Morita story.
Okay.
I'll tell you the quick Pat Morita story. Pat Morita went to him once and said, Red, we have kids now. I have to move out of my apartment. I don't have enough money to buy a house. Could you lend me $20,000? I swear I'll pay it back. I'll work it off. I'll do whatever needs to be done. And he said, here's a check for $20,000. There is no working off. There is no paying back. Here's what I want you to do. When you make it, and I know you will, you write a check for $20,000 for somebody else who needs it. That's Red Fox.
Yeah.
Paying it forward is what we should do as comedians. If you can help another comic if it's down, I've been a beneficiary of that largesse when I was sick. My comedian friends.
Well, you know what? I'm barely hearing it. Talk up a little bit.
Okay, it's not important. Let's.
No,
let's
yes,
move
it
on.
is.
Let's talk.
Anything you...
No. Oh. So Tommy, we were talking about the 3 Reds. So we got through Red Fox, we got through Red Skelton, and our final Red is Red Buttons. And he was always one of my.
If there's one word for Red Buttons, it is relentless. He just pounds punchlines away over and over and over again. Again, get on YouTube. Look at Red Buttons on the Tonight Show. Look at Red Buttons on the Dean Martin roast. He just pounds away.
He was amazing on that.
Yeah.
And the Sinatra roast too. I mean, he seemed to be like a roast master. He was very good at those things.
Yeah, what he did was he took a very old format. There used to be an old format in comedy called Remember the Words of, okay? And it was like, remember the words of Orville Wright, who said to Wilbur, we were only in the air 12 seconds. How could you lose my luggage? Okay? So he took lines like that, and he would say, remember the words of the Jolly Green Giant, there's nothing like a good pea. Never got a dinner. The Jolly Green Giant never got a dinner.
Never got a dinner.
Every roast dinner there was, he would come out and do 30 or 40 of those lines. Bam, 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 bam. Never got a dinner, and it became his trademark. And he was a very warm, very nice guy. I met him when I was a little kid. We were on a show together. As a matter of fact, I think I have a picture of me with him around 1956. And if you look really closely in my face,
you sent it to us.
If you look really closely in my face, you'll see fear, because he was holding me up. He was holding me up over a 6-foot stage, and I was dangling there. And I'm like, don't drop me. Please don't drop me. Don't drop me.
Before Michael Jackson did it?
Guy.
Red Buttons did it.
Red Buttons did it, yeah.
No, I'm saying Michael Jackson dangled the child off a balcony, but there was nothing on Red Buttons.
Yeah. Wow.
That's right.
Let me ask you. Can I ask you just one question? You did start out very early, and I know you've talked about performing in Philly as a child, and your father was so supportive of what you did and your desire to be in show business.
He was wonderful.
You want to talk a little bit about that? Your father?
Yeah. Okay. My dad was an assistant manager in vaudeville, and every night at the table, he would tell me stories about vaudeville comedians, and that's how I got hooked. He bought us our first TV, and I was in front of it 18 hours a day. My father did everything to help advance my career. He took my first professional pictures. My mother made my first tuxedo. Everything to me was show business. There's an old line that Carl Wallenda, who was the great wire walker in the circus, said, and Carl Wallenda said, on the wire there is life, everything else is just waiting. That's what it was like for me. To me, being on stage was life, everything else was just waiting. And my father just couldn't have been more supportive, and God bless him. If it wasn't for him and my mother, I might be selling shoes somewhere. You know.
I have a
So
question
I
along
like
those lines.
shoes, Tommy. Don't knock it. I like shoes. So
Tommy,
not the worst.
having been introduced to so early in life
wait,
to comedy, can you hear me?
I really can't. Say it again. Something about early in life.
I said, having been introduced to comedy so early in life by your father and being nurtured that way, growing, it was
Yeah.
inevitable that you would grow up to be a comedian. But my question is, why did you not? I don't want to say progress because that's the wrong word. But when all the other your contemporaries, were doing their brand of stand-up, you chose to stay in that traditional vein of comedy.
Because that's what I love. That's what I love. To be honest, I did try to do contemporary stuff like a Robert Klein and a David Steinberg, and it was okay stuff. And I did it for about 5 years, and I was a decent middle act, but I wasn't having any fun. And I said to myself, the root word of funny is fun. I should be having fun. Why am I not having fun? And I wasn't having fun because I wasn't really doing what I wanted to do. And so it took a lot of guts, but I pulled everything back and I said, now I'm going to do what I want to do on stage. And you really should do that as a comedian, no matter what it is, because the middle two words of comedy spell me. You have to be me. You have to be yourself on stage. So I went on stage and I did a real old style type of comedy, one-liners, street jokes, vaudeville stuff. I contemporized it, but it was that basic style. And the very first time I did it, the audience went nuts because they never saw anything like that. And the next week, the phone was ringing off the wall, and I went from being a middle to being a headliner. And I never looked back.
That's an important point for any comic, really, is to be truthful to yourself. You have to speak your truth up there, whether it's, whether it's vaudeville type humor, burlesque humor, or contemporary stuff. As long as it's honest and from your heart, audiences will get. Don't you agree, Kath? You think?
Oh, for sure. You have to get rid of all the stuff. Like, you can't go up thinking you need to act like a stand-up comedian. You just have to speak from your heart and figure out a way to connect and tell your story and tell your, to present your thing. You cannot in any way have that. So I really agree. And once you can shed that skin, it's the whole world is different. You're able to bring everything in.
And also, honestly, you got to find your audience, and they have to find you. I'll take you back to Red Buttons, and this might be the last story, but this is a true story that he told me. When he first started out, he would work anywhere, as we all did. As a matter of fact, the line was, we're having a party, send over 2 gallons of potato salad and Red Buttons, okay? So an agent called him and booked him for a luncheon. Now, at the time, he was doing a lot of Jewish humor, dialect humor. He would do 3 Jewish jokes up front, and then he would do a song, a parody called Sam, You Made the Pants Too Long, and he did it in a Jewish dialect. Well, he came out, and here was this group of guys having a luncheon, and he told his first Jewish joke, nothing. Told his second joke, nothing. He decided to forget the third joke. He went right into the Jewish dialect song, and he sang, pants are dragging, slowly bagging, hanging on the floor. All of a sudden, beer bottles are coming at him, smashing against the wall. He ducks behind the piano. He crawls off stage. He calls the agent and says, I'm sorry. I did my best stuff. They just didn't like me. And the agent said, Red, it's not your fault. It was the wrong venue for you. He had booked him at a Nazi Bund rally. Show business.
Oh my gosh. Show business.
Yeah.
All right, Tommy. So thank you. Fourth book coming out? Is that right? Your fourth book is coming out, sir?
Oh, you're fading. You're fading.
Oh, Tommy, do you have a fourth book coming out? You said yes. So, do we have a
I got
name
a fourth
of it?
book coming out. It's called The Tuxedo Comedians. It's profiles of 161 comedians from the glory days in nightclubs where comedians wore tuxedos with cufflinks and patent leather shoes and worked in clubs with crystal chandeliers and gold velvet drapes. And that's how I started. That's where I started. And
Wow.
I just love those guys. And I just said I have to pay tribute to them. So the fourth book is coming out hopefully in the fall. And I'm already starting on a fifth book. So
Cool. And
Well,
how can we connect with you for your other three books, or if people want to find out more
the
about
best
you?
way is my website, which is Prof Comedy, PROFCOMEDY at profcomedy.com. PROFCOMEDY.com. That'll tell you everything you need to know about me and more than you really want to know. Also, the books, if you just put in Tommy Moore Comedian, the books are all on Amazon and Kindle, so you can get them that way.
Cool. And we will be sure to link all this in our Facebook page as well to make sure that you can find everything that we talked about here. So, Tommy, we can't thank you enough for your expertise. We hope you will come back with us and
I'd
enlighten
love
us,
to.
because
I'd love to. Maybe we can figure out how to actually do this visually.
Well, we want to see your
Well,
face.
you're going to
for
have
sure.
to invest in a new computer that isn't steam powered.
There you go. There you go.
Julia.
All right.
But I want to
Take
thank
care.
you
God
for.
bless.
I want to thank you so much just for doing this with us today. So it couldn't have. It's a great way to kick off. So take care. Love
Thank
to
you
your
for
wife.
calling me, my friend. We've known each other for 40 years almost.
Yes, we
And
have.
the first show we ever did together was you, me, and Mary Ellen Hooper at Rutgers University in Camden.
In Camden. I remember that show. Oh my God. Yeah, I remember that show. I didn't remember who was on it though. Camden, yeah.
All right.
I didn't even know Rutgers had a campus in Camden. And then I found out.
There you go. There you go.
All right.
All right.
Thank you,
All right.
Tommy. Take care. Be
Thanks,
well.
Tom.
We'll talk to you soon. Thanks again.
Take care.
Love you, man.
Bye-bye.
See you,
Bye-bye.
gang. Bye-bye. All right. That was Tommy Moore, the professor of fun.
Yeah, you should.
I
I
want
wish
to have
he's such.
a cool title like that. I want to be
What do you want? The
the
professor of.
maven of something, or
You know, if I called you a professor in Italian, the Italian word for professor is professoressa. Professoressa. That's sexy, right?
I like it. Yes.
Signora
All right.
professoressa.
So
What?
we need to take a
I
break.
was being Italian.
And-
You always cut me off when I'm Italian.
I know. Well, you're always Italian, but
Is that our music?
Yes, it's our music. That's Jim.
Is it time?
Jim's playing our. Well, it's time to roll out of this segment, and then we'll roll back in and wrap up the show. We're going to play 5 questions with Julia. We're going to see how
Oh, I
smart
can't
she
wait.
is. All right, and it's all going to be based on red. So come on back. It'll be fun. Comedy Centric.
Paul Morzano.
Oh, you like that, right?
Yeah.
Paul Marzano.
Paul Morzano.
He did the guitar, and that's his song, right?
Wrote the song.
Paul.
He recorded it. This
Yes.
is from his album.
All right, so
Very
we will
talented guy.
be sure to give Paul props.
Morzano.
And Marzano. Paul.
Yep.
Like
Yep. As in Paul Morzano.
Peter, Perry, and Paul. as in Paul. Or is that?
or
All right,
Pietro
so welcome
Paolo.
back. Thank you guys for being here. It's our inaugural show. It's our maiden voyage, and we've had a good first part of the show, and I'm excited about it. And Jim is making sure that we stay on track, so that is good. But we're going to go to a little segment I like to call the lightning round. And this segment.
Okay.
Shut up.
There's no actual
This
lightning
segment-
involved, though, right?
We'll see. No, it's not even lightning. It's not always about being fast. It's about I'm going to see how smart Julie is, because she's really smart. I mean, you're like almost Jeopardy smart, but
No, I'm like no.
but
They were
not.
Jeopardy
Like, you have
elementary
like
school
weird
Jeopardy.
smartness. So
Yeah.
So in honor of our theme today, which was the three reds. So we had Red Skelton, Red Buttons, and Red Fox. So in honor of that, I thought I would ask you 5 questions, not 3, 5 questions that have red pertaining to them. So are you ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Are you nervous?
Why is there a trap door under my chair that I'm going to go
Maybe we're going to find
into
out.
the ocean?
All right. Question number
Go ahead.
1. Who wrote Hunt for Red October?
Tom Clancy.
All right. Bing, 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 bing. That's very good.
All right.
Julia.
Okay.
All right. Question number 2. Name one Cincinnati Reds baseball player ever.
Johnny Bench.
Bing, 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 bing. Very good, Julia. Question number 3. Who wrote Little Red Riding Hood?
I want to say Hans Christian Andersen. No,
No.
was it Hans Christian Andersen?
No.
No. Little Red Riding Hood. Walt Disney.
No.
Jackie Cooper.
It's a trick
Uh,
question. It's kind of
Johnny
like
Bench?
it kind of
Oh,
goes
it's a
back.
folklore tale.
Yes,
folklore.
exactly.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to actually give that to you because it dates back to like 1697, and there's a lot of sketchy crap going on. So I don't know exactly. So I will
Well, there
give
was the
that to you.
plague. I mean, you know what the plague? Yeah, people were dying from the plague. You
No, it
think
was
they're going to write down?
1697, and it was called Charles Perrault. So anyway,
What?
okay.
Wait a minute. Stop
Right.
for a minute on
Aside
Little Red
from-
Riding Hood. Wait a minute.
What?
The plague was around, so nobody wrote down. That was a popular story that people would tell you. They tell that story while people's limbs were falling off and stuff, and boils were all over
I
them.
know.
And they go, "Hey, did you hear the story of Little Red Riding Hood?" Yeah, I did. Who wrote that? No, they never said that. So you.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's folklore, and so it dates back like probably even before 1600s.
Okay, go ahead.
So you're absolutely right. It's folklore. That's the correct answer, Julia. You're
Okay, so I'm
damn
3 for 3.
genius. You're 3 for 3. All right. Question number 4. You ready? Aside from red, name the colors in the rainbow.
Red, orange. Oh, aside from red, Roy G.
Well, you
Biv.
can add red if you want to.
Red,
go
orange,
ahead.
yellow. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet.
Oh, girl. Ding, 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 ding.
We had to learn that in science. And
I know, but you forget shit. All right.
you don't really forget Roy
Final
G. Biv.
question.
Go ahead.
Final question. You ready? Name 3 redheaded comedians.
Well, not counting the ones we talked about. I mean,
No,
I can't name red.
female. Female. I'm sorry, female.
Yeah,
3
Lucy Ball,
redheaded
Carol
female
Burnett.
comedians.
Lucy Ball, Carol Burnett, and let's see, who's the third?
Kathleen Madigan.
Okay, why did you tell me? I was Kathleen Madigan. You happy?
Because I didn't want you to disrespect Kathleen Madigan.
There's probably more than 3. I could have said, what was the name of
Oh,
the
I
comedian
know,
that
but I was just seeing if
held
you
up
could pull 3 out of your. Look at your arm again. You're
I know.
doing the wobble.
No, I could. I would have gotten the 3rd one. You got any more of these softball questions?
No. The bonus question. Just because
Go
I
ahead.
know you're studying Italian.
Mhm.
What is the word or the phrase for funny redhead in Italian?
But the head is testa rosa. Funny. I don't know. I forgot the word for funny, but a
Does it
redhead
have
would be
anything to do with
testarossa.
humoroso, or anything like that? Because that seems
Maybe
like a
humorosa,
Latin.
testarossa. That's all in redhead. Uh,
All right.
I
Well,
don't
you
know.
failed the last bonus question, but you got the
I
others
got 2.
right.
Yeah. So what do I get?
Nothing.
I get to come back next week.
Yep.
I
You
get
see
to
what
come
you
back
have in
next
store
week.
for next week, and if you can pass,
Well, thank you.
bravo, brava,
Bravo.
very good. You're smart.
Most people don't know
You're
that.
smart.
Huh?
You're a smart woman.
I try.
And this is why I felt confident in quizzing you, because I wouldn't just throw these questions out to anybody, because I'd make them feel lesser than that they didn't know the answers to. But I knew you would have the answers to it.
So you're saying I was showing off? I didn't mean to be showing off. I'm
No,
not,
you don't
I'm not
show.
ashamed of
No,
my intelligence, though.
that's what I'm saying. I would like to highlight that and show people your depth of knowledge. But
Thank you.
I'm tired of talking about you now, and I think this
All
is
right,
going to
so
be
it's time
the end
to
of
go.
our show.
It's
I
time to
think
go.
so.
Let me
But
see.
I think
I don't
it's a great show. I
Let's
don't want
here.
to see your kitty cat,
Look at who's here. Come
which is
on.
funny because our cats look exactly alike,
They do.
except yours
They
has
do.
a fluffier tail. But
That's
anyway,
true, but they do look
so
exactly alike.
they do,
And yours
which
has
is
yours
when we
has
first met
has a
each other
penis.
was
Mine
wild.
has. Yeah, your
No,
cat has
mine
a
doesn't
penis, and
have that. Mine
it
doesn't
doesn't
have
have
it.
testicles, but it has a penis.
Yeah,
Go
he has
check.
that, but
Go check and get back to
I'm
me.
not gonna. He still has claws. I'm not going down that route. But
All right. Well, we're going to be here every week, right? We're going to be here every
we
week
are,
until
we are,
people tell us
and
get the hell away from me. Until the court orders come out.
until we get to restraining orders, we're gonna be
We have
out
a
in full
great
force.
guest next
But
week. We have a
who is
fantastic
it?
guest.
Who is it? I forget.
I don't know if I
Who is
should
it?
tell you. I'm not even going to say it. I'm going to surprise
Tell
him.
us.
No, don't tell me what to do. You're not the boss of me. All right. I love you,
Right or
Kathy
not.
Caldwell. I
I
love
love
you.
you, Julia Scotty, and Jim. We love you. Thank you
We
for all
both
you
love
do
you.
for us.
Thank you, Jim.
We love you.
He's
Oh,
left
this is too
Silver.
sappy.
All right.
He won't even come back on screen. He's scared.
Well, I'm going to go
All
have my
right.
meatball sandwich.
So,
And
yeah, me too. Now you got me wanting a meatball sandwich. So,
these
all
are
right. So we'll
homemade.
see you next week. Thank you guys. Be well. Treat each other well, and keep laughing. We love you. Talk
right.
to you later. Bye bye.
Love you. Bye.